Good evening to everyone. Good evening to everyone. Today we are going to talk about the silage making. Silage making is one of the process in the nutrition that is important to make the available fodder as nutritiously rich, and at the same time one need to enrich them with the energy and required nutrients also. So, with this, we will go to the topic. The silage making is one of the feed uh, nutritional factor. Then it is made from the grass, which is already available in the farm, and also some of the different materials. So, what's a silage is it is the fodder packed in airtight condition. So it is usually put in the airtight condition to preserve its nutritional value, improve its quality and taste, and to make it easily digestible to the cattle. So this is called as the silage or pickle of the fodder. Means, so the pickle is also put in a similar manner, where in which it is put in the airtight condition and made more tastier to the person who eat. So it's a pickle of the cattle, what it say. So what's the principle of the silage making is the fodder is fermented through special bacteria which can survive without oxygen, or in the other words we can also call them as the anaerobic bacteria. So the resulting fodder is rendered very tasty to the cattle and easily digestible for the animals. Hence this type of the fodder is very much required to the Indian scenario is concerned, where in which the green fodder is only available during some seasons and it will not be available in the other seasons. Hence, the process of making the silage is a one of the good technology, especially in the Indian scenario is concerned. Whereas in the foreign countries, lot of good fodder is available 24 into 365 days, hence there is no problem. But we are still able to convince our farmers to make the silage, etc., and to tell them the nutritional importance. Anyway, we will go further. Then the mechanism of the process of the silage is the preparation of good quality uh, good quality silage depends upon timely harvesting of the fodder. That is one of the important thing. Timely harvesting of the fodder, because it also depends upon the moisture and also the succulent nature of the fodder. Hence, one need to think about the timely harvesting the fodder is also the important factor in this thing. So the second one is the quantity of air in it at the time of packing is also another important factor, because the air tightness is also another dependent parameter in silage making, where the fermentation can go up very properly. So in this process, useful bacteria which are supplied exogenously, especially they are useful bacteria are inserted into the silage, and it is converted to soluble starches into the lactic acid. So this is one of the important processes. So it decreases the acidic quality or the pH from 2 to 3 to 4, which stops the growth of harmful germs, whereas the useful germs still they remain as one of the bacteria that are very much required for the fermentation process. So it makes the fodder very safe and non-toxic, non what you call as the non-endotoxin production, and also the tasty to the cattle for the consumption also. If the moisture content is very high in fodder, wheat straw or crushed cob of maize can also be added to the silage making. Then here you can see the steps of silage making. Number one, we need to select a proper fodder for making the silage. Then check moisture. Then the season of harvesting is also very important. Then the fodder need to be chopped in a proper manner. Ultimately, it has to be put in a silo bun and pressed properly. Then long-term storage is very much required. Then, so once again, what we say is the selection of fodder is number one. Then it can be made from all winter and summer fodders. All winter and summer fodders. So the silage can be made from usually the maize, oats, sorghum, which are considered to be the best silage making. They are one of the best silage making property. Then, apart from it one, then also usually other fodder than this can also be used. Normally, the fodder with broad leaves is preferred. Thick stems, thick succulent stems means containing more water, more fiber is always it is preferable. Whereas the leguminous fodder like the lucerne has got the less carbohydrates and protein content. They are usually mixed with non-leguminous fodder like maize and sorghum to make the best and nutritional silage. Then the harvesting in and check moisture is also important to determine the right time for harvesting the silage to get the best nutritional value from the silage. Then how to determine the time of the harvest is as indicated below. Number one, the uh, when the plant is fully mature. Number one, half of the grain is maize is milky. Most of the time, maize is made as the silage, and it should be milky. The fruitful fodder has 50% of the flowers only. Then moisture content should be 65 to 75%. So this all can be used as one of the important parameters for making the silage. Then what are the advantages of the silage is it is one of the cheapest substance for fodder at the time of fodder shortage during the winter seasons. That's also winter season. Silage makes the fodder more digestible to the cattle, number one. The land is available for the next crop without any delay because all the fodder is harvested and stored at once. So animals get the nutritious feed in the entire year or the whole year. This is another added advantage. And then expenditure on labor force is decreased because at once entirely the crop is harvested and made as the silage. Then the another advantage of the silage is the animals like eating silage, but the buffalo may be resistant because in the beginning, because of the some smell, etc., they may not like it. But the thing is, especially the crossbred cattle do like the silage to the highest extent, followed by the sheep and goat can also like it. But only thing is the buffaloes, the Indian buffaloes. But when we mix the silage with that of the green fodder, the foliar, that develops a very tasty for the silage, then it increase the quantity of the silage intake gradually. So the quantity of the silage that can be given to the cattle in a single day is about 15 to 20 kilogram along with the concentrates daily to the lactating animals, especially the animals with high yielding varieties. Then one of the things to be seen is be careful when removing the silage from the bunker because the polythene cover or etc. so that mud and moisture should not spoil the silage. So this need to be taken care. Then the feed additives can also be added because the main nutritions are either increased of the silage so that the storage losses are reduced to the highest extent also. Then silage additives include feedstuffs, then urea, ammonia, molasses, succulent, inoculant, and many type of the acids can also be added to the more making it more nutritive also. So types of silage and additives. For example, non-proteinous nitrogen, the as you know very well, the urea. So this can be used to the increase the crude protein value of the silage. Whereas the feedstuffs such as the corn of the maize, small grains and molasses can be added to the storage. This is also another possibility. Whereas the minerals such as the mineral mixture in the form of the mineral mixtures such as the calcium, phosphorus, then magnesium have been added to the forage always. Then acids, some of the acids which are added to increase the enzyme to immediate drop in the pH, especially the baking acid, what you call as the microbial inoculants are added to forage to increase the total number of desirable bacteria present at the time of enzyme. So sometimes the vinegar can also be added as an acid so that the pH drastically reduces. And remember, no additive can replace good silage making techniques, but may improve the this fermentation and nutrition value of the few silages. The response is usually not large. So the adding the mineral mixtures may be useful, adding the urea may also be useful, but that cannot replace the quality of the fodder that's used in the silage making. Here, the acid fermentation happens, then sufficient high moisture content are stored under anaerobic conditions. So this contain usually the silage contain the 20 to 40% of dry matter, then 14 to 16% of the crude protein and remaining as the water as you well know because it contains the moisture. Silage and halage is another thing are attractive to dairy and beef cattle, especially the crossbred cattle. So, because of the rainfall often hinders hay production and silage can help the total feed cost. Then what is the silage means? It's a green manure. Actually, the green manure which is stored for a long time with fermentation of the green fodder, retaining the high moisture content also. Then the anaerobic condition is first and foremost requirement of the silage making, whereas it allows the lactic acid bacteria to grow, which convert sugar into the lactic acid, a strong organic acid. As the pH declines, the degrading action of the plant enzymes and undesirable bacteria are inhibited, and pH of 3 to 4 most degrading enzymes are inhibited, and growth of the lactic acid bacteria is also inhibited. So if the pH crosses down 3 or 4, then the bacteria are inhibited, and growth of lactic acid and bacteria is totally inhibited. This is the principle. Then resulting fodder is rendered tasty and easily digestible to the animals. Then seasonal productivity of the feed sources and shortage of fodder during the dry season is also one of the important reason for making the silage in Indian scenario. Then sometimes the animal also suffer from malnutrition. Then the silage can replace some extent the nutritional requirement, and the sometimes there is decrease in the body weight of the animal because of the scarcity of the fodder. Then this can increase, and reduction of milk production can also be taken care, and sometimes the outbreak of the disease is also there, and reproductive disorders, or these can be answered by adding the silage to the feed of the cattle. So there is a marked reduction in animal productivity causes mainly the stagnation of income to the farmers by the animal husbandry activities, and hence we need to value add the feed, and it becomes a limitation factor to the increasing the animal keeping number. Therefore it is vital to produce very good quality roughage in the entire year. It's very important to have the good quality roughage in the form of the green fodder. If green fodder is not available, then at least the silage can be put. That is the required thing in the silage making also. Then the things which makes the silage is preparation of silage is also an art, and everyone need to be very well versed with that of the preparation of the silage, and these are used in the dry season. However, it is very difficult to make hay due to the climatic condition and cost, because for the hay one need to dry the hay to the highest extent, and hence it may be very difficult for the person to make the hay. Then the next step is harvesting and chopping the material at the proper time is also very important. And here you can see that the maize is harvested in a suitable period, and it is made available to the cattle. That's also the other step that can be used for preparation of the silage. So here you can see that many time many time the silage is usually made in larger cattle farms, but even the smaller cattle farm owners can also afford for this thing, and a fodder like this can be stored for prolonged period and made available to the cattle during the entire year is concerned. Hence, the silage making is one of the good process. So, what are all the things that can be used in the silage are corn, green sorghum or milo, then Bermuda grass, then star grass, then the limbo grass or Hamarthria. Other perennial grasses can also be used, but forage sorghum is also another thing. Sorghum Sudan hybrids, pearl millet, small grains and ryegrass. But number one is always preferred as the maize. Then legumes also can be used as the silage. Number one, the alfalfa. The other things are the red clover, hairy indigo, then Alaisai then Asynchomon, American, etc. Asynchomon, Rhizoma perennial peanut, other crops such as sugarcane crop combined such as the green sorghum and soya beans or ryegrass and red or white clover can also be used. The harvesting of the especially the silage is full season to produce larger plants and higher tonnage of the silage. Then early season may produce much grain but smaller plants. So what happens as a result? Therefore, total silage yield is usually lower, and but percentage gain in the silage may be higher. Whereas the corn hybrids, full season 120 plus days and mid season 115 days and early season is 110 days. So this is the way how the harvesting can be done using the modern machineries. In the western countries where a lot of land is there for the grazing, such type of the mainly the tractor or a machine can be used. And nowadays in India also, many farmers are using the mechanization and it saves a lot of labor and the time. And this is the bag used for the silo and many type of such bags are available. Then a pit is made, silo pit. This is known as the silage pit. So it depends upon the storage capacity of individual silo pits. Then the fodder need to be properly chopped using a fodder chopping machine. So later one can do the silage process. So here the machineries can also be used though. So this is a wide silo bund wherein which the large quantity hay or a large quantity silage can be made available to the cattle after the silage is prepared. Then the silage can also be transported, the fodder can be transported from one area to another area for preparing the this silage. And once it is brought, a single day drying may also be useful for the proper circulate nature of the fodder. Then adjusting the moisture content. How to adjust? Usually, if the fodder is too succulent, if the moisture content is more than 65 or 65, then it has to be reduced to 60 to 65%. Then optimum moisture in bale silage is 50 to 55%, whereas the tank silage or burnt silage it is 60 to 65%. Then these are all the cuttings of the powder which is usually made as the silage, and we need to squeeze the how to check very instantly is if you squeeze the silage then water should not double, or if you feed chopped feed the water should not dribble. That is the important criteria to see. Then you can see that such type of the fodder is very much suitable for this silage preparation. Then it indicates that it is having the optimum water content 62 to 65%. To get the maximum yield of the nutrients, also the for silage is used. Then minimize field and storage mass losses to ensure high palatability and maximum intake by the animals. So sometimes in case of the silo burn, such type of the troughs can also be used, but usually it should be airtight, and only the hand used pot chopping machines are always beneficial. Then, if the farmer can afford the mechanization, then also a huge quantity of the silage can be made. And the silo pits sometimes directly the chopped fodder is done as the heat, then it can be prepared. and the silo birds some in some places where in which large farmers can also do afford such type of the tanks and bunds, as you know it very well. Then this is also continuation. So the silage making process can also be small and also sometimes the big like this. So please go through. These are all the processes how the silage is made. Suppose a tank is there, silo pit is there, then it has to be filled to the highest extent, leaving about 1 feet gap. Then the tractor, etc., should be used to press it always, because the air content should be minimized as less as possible. Here you can see the person is using the tractor or the machine so that it is pressed. Then apart from this one, the silo bud may be pushed so that the air tightness can also be made. And early complete sealing and application of the hay weights is also another thing. So this is the way how the hay weights are put here. The silo is covered with a plastic, then over this mud is pasted. So this also makes a good quality silage. Totally the anaerobic condition is maintained here. Then so the silo buds many times are of this type, and many times they may be pits which are in the ground. So a fresh silage is like this. So sometimes it can be covered in the ground. Then one step cover installation can also be made. So silage put, especially upper side, a plastic cover may be put. Then the this part is exposed silo face is there. Then this is the bunker. So this is one of the latest type of the silage making. So this is the cross section of that particular thing. Then the heap of the fodder can be used for silo pits. And sometimes if the tires, weights, tires, etc. are available, one can put over the silo bud like this, so that the plastic cover which is wrapped in the silage cannot get outside. That's also one of the important thing. Then sometimes the fodder can also be rolled like this. Many type of the machineries are available to make the green fodder as rolls. Then the technology is advanced, especially in the countries like Israel and the Denmark, etc. They are all using the high-tech machineries for preparing, harvesting, etc. of the soil. So these are all the modern technologies. Of course, this powder is wrapped so that the moisture will not be exposed. So they see all the machineries which can be used for silo preparation. So this is also the ready to use silo transported in a van and supplied to a farmer's category. So these are all the silo buds, and here also you can see entire silage packets, especially they are made and stored in the open area itself. Then, addition to molasses, what can be done? The sugars and byproducts in the case of delayed harvesting can also be made. And poor condition for silage practicing is also made. Then the first stage is packed raw material are still respirating, means immediately after chopped and consumes lot of oxygen. So the temperature will rise about 32 to around 4 days after packing, because the heat is generated there. Then what happens? The second stage, acetic acid, is produced beginning by the fermentation with acetic acid bacteria during the respiration. So the silage slowly it changes from about 6 to about 4 pH. Then the third stage, lactic acid fermentation begins production. Still it drops the pH, and about the third after packing chopped material. In the acetic acid fermentation by acetic acid bacteria decreases, then acetic acid production is declined. Usually it is lactic acid mainly. Fourth stage is lactic acid production continues about 2 weeks. Lactic acid. The temperature goes down slowly about to the normal atmosphere temperature. The pH decreases about 4 and the activity of the various bacteria it stops. Then fifth stage, the reaction proceeds smoothly than that of the fourth stage, and it enters a stable phase with a low pH to the extent of 4. Then the lactic acid fermentation is totally completed in 20 days from the beginning of the silo making, and the silage product is finished. So after 20 days, the silage product is totally it is finished. If the lactic acid production is insufficient, butyric acid fermentation begins and quality deterioration occurs. So we need to see that the lactic acid fermentation should be very optimal by totally keeping the anaerobic environment. Then here you can see the diagram showing fermentation process of the silage in different days. Here you can see this is day 1 to day 2. So the temperature of the silo bud slightly increases to the extent of 32 degree centigrade. Then later, after 7 days, you can see that it is going to decrease to 10 degree Celsius. Then it comes to 20 degree Celsius. Always it becomes cool. Whereas the pH is going to change. Initially, it will be 6. Then, after 3 days, it will be 4.2 nature because the lactic acid fermentation is being started. Then, after 7 days, it is going to reduce to 4, and after day 12, it is reduced to 3.8. Accordingly, the lactic acid bacteria go on decreasing, and 20 days it is going to stop. Whereas the acetic acid bacteria, it starts growing. They start growing at day 1, then they will end with day 4. Whereas the lactic acid producing bacteria, they start development at the day of 4. Hence, the pH is also reduced here to the extent. And one need to remember this type of the days and also the decrease in the different type of the pH. Then selection of the fodder is already, they should have broad leaves and thick stems, etc. Then site of selection, where to construct the silo burn is another question. Always the farmers ask you. So where to conduct is the area should not be low lying because especially during the rainy season, water may get, especially the water logging area may spoil the process of the silage, and tractor should be used to easily reach the site, and it should be 60 meter away from water pond so that water contamination should not have, and trees should not be around because they may have some roots in the silo pits also. Then the selection of the fodder, already we know. Check the moisture, then harvest, then fill the silo, mix of additives, sealing, and storage. These are all the steps immediately in a single day. All this need to be made, and the powder like maize, like millet, etc., can also be used. The most preferred one is the maize. Then, apart from this one, the oats. Then, some type of the millets can also be used. Then, the ragi or the hybrid napier can also be used for preparation of the silage. Then there will be ball of the fodder. So this ball suddenly opens. That means it is having more and more moisture content, and it is too low. So if this ball remains like shape, it means the moisture content is too high. Means, suppose if you take the chopped fodder and crush it, then it means moisture content is too low. But if it is open slowly, it means moisture content is, it is probably it is okay. Then this consists of the following steps. How to do it? To take fresh fodder not more than 50 grams, not down the weight of this fodder, place it in the oven for few seconds and again wait. Again place it in the oven and wait. Repeat this step again and again till no change occurs in the weight of the fodder. Then no change in the weight shows that moisture is no more fodder in fodder and only dry matter is left. So now we can calculate the percent moisture is equal to weight of fresh powder less weight of the dry powder into 100. That's the weight of fresh powder. Then harvesting and chopping up of the fodder should be done properly. If there is a the moisture should be 40 to 45%. Then the small scale farmers can also use the small chop cutter like this. Then use maize chopper for harvesting the chopping fodder. So if maize chopper is not available, then harvest it and chop it up to the size of 1 to 3 centimeters. So what are all the mixing the feed additives is they increase the nutrient recovery, increase the nutrient value. Then calcium carbonate, magnesium carbonate can also be used, ammonium sulfate, sodium sulfate, and zinc sulfate and copper for increasing the mineral content. Then inorganic or organic, usually the inorganic acids like sulfuric acid and formic acid can also be done to the some extent, but fermentation inhibitors immediately decrease the pH. Then sterilants to inhibit microflora, for example, the formaldehyde, maximum the grass sorbic acid salts, etc. Then the non-proteins fermentation process can also be used by certain fermentant stimulations like the enzyme speed up like a cellulose and inoculant microbial culture. This can be homemade lactobacillus or which is present in the buttermilk also. Urea and anhydrous ammonia can be added to silage to increase their food protein content. Minerals such as the calcium, phosphate, sulfur, magnesium can also be added to the silage. So now let us come to the important point where in which the silage inoculants. The primary purpose of bacterial inoculant increase the number of lactic acid. And what are all the inoculants? Number one, homofermentive lactic acid bacteria like Lactobacillus plantarum, Enterococcus, that's the faecium, then Podiococcus species. So heterofermentable lab include the L. buchneri. So intake in the dry matter, it is uninnoculated, it's 8.82, it is 2, it is remaining the same at 8.82. Crude protein 1.10, whereas the silage inoculant it increases it to 11.04. And neutral detergent fiber it is reduced. Non-fiber carbohydrate are increased. Ether extract it is increased. Ash it is slightly increased. So the digestibility is it is increased to the extent of 4%. Crude protein about 4% it is increased. Neutral detergent fiber 70%. Then non-fiber is also 89%. Ether extract it is 66.71 to 83. Ash 48.8, 65.73. So this is the way how the silo is filled by using the tractor or using the machinery or using some of the labors. Then the siling silo is can be made by after filling cut tires in small circular pieces of maximum dosage. So in case of baled silage, A baler automatically wrap the bale. So this is the one which is made. So this is also called as baled silage. A specific machines will come and they will wrap in a proper manner. Then process of recycling, phase 1 immediately starts, phase 2 starts at day 4, phase 3 start at day 6, and phase 4 is it is totally completed in 20 days. Then phases of silage conservation, the number one pre-siling aerobic, then ensiling anaerobic, then fungal resurgence, acetic acid bacteria, then pH is the 6 to 9, whereas in case of ensiling it is 3.8 to 5. Then advantages of silage making, already it is done. Then quality of the silage depends upon the type of the forage, wood causes especially, then also the good quality storage, anaerobic condition, then also the moisture content, then the different kinds of the silo are there. Number one is the silo, specialized device container used for preparation of silage is called as the silo. Then these are all the things. Pile silo, in this type, silo is no need of construction. Only a pile of chopped fodder is made on the ground and it's pressed with the help of the tractor. And this type of silo is recommended for short-term preservation of the fodder, not for long-term. Long silage bag is also there. This type of the silo consists long stretchable bag. After proper filling and compaction, the end of bag is that is closed. Then tower silo, here this is made as these are long vertical silo, then of the steel or concrete, typically 10 to 90 feet high in diameter, 30 to 270 feet in height. Then bunker silo, this is bunker silo, is most commonly used type of the silo, easy to handle this particular thing. And this is rectangular structure which opens from one side or sometimes the both sides. On both sides of the walls of the wood, steel, concrete are constructed like this. So this is a dimension of bunker depends upon the amount of the fodder storage. Then the formula should be kept in mind that 1 cubic feet space will be filled by 18 to 20 kg of fresh powder. That is bunker having 1 feet length, 1 feet width and 1 feet height will carry about 18 to 20 feet or kg of fresh powder. On this base we can say how much quantity of the silo fit can be done. Then temporary bunkers can also be made by using the locally constructed the cement bricks, etc. And these frames can be removed later and used somewhere else. Hay bales can also be used in the place of frames of this purpose. Then pit or trench silo. So this is the one of the oldest thing, and trench silo can be built by simply digging a ground, but it is better to place plastic sheets or sometimes to the cement, concrete can also be used. Then bale silo, this is the most modern way, bale silo of silage making in which fodder is preserved in the form of the bale, like this one which is wrapped in plastic. So fodder is converted to bale via a machine called as the silage baler, and this bale is then tightly wrapped from the polythene sheet with the help of the wrapper, and this bale can be easily transported from one place to another place. So how to feed the silage? Number one, it is 2 to 3 year old cattle 11 to 13 kgs, whereas 3 to 8 year old cattle 13 to 22 kg. 13 to 22 kgs. Sheep 1 to 1 kg per 45 kg live weight. Usually the Indian sheep have got the less than 45 kg weight, so 1 to 1.5 kgs. The same thing is also applicable to the goats. So milk yielders they require more silage. Then energy losses in silage and causative factors. For example, there is approximate 1 to 2% of the energy loss is there, then especially residual respiration, this can not be avoidable. Then fermentation cannot be unavoidable. 2 to 4%, effluent 5 to 7%, wilting losses 2 to 5. Secondary fermentation 0 to 5%. Aerobic deterioration of during the storage. Then aerobic deterioration after unloading also. So totally approximately 7 to 14% of the energy loss will be there. Then ensiling method, so suppose a tank method is also there. So sometimes the barrels can also be used. Whereas the bag silo can also be used like this. Uh, so uh, the airtight bags can also be used for silage making. Then low cost silo, it is one of the Bangladesh experiences, so that they can use this polythene silo, or sometimes the bamboo mat fenced chamber can also be used. Then maize store preparation usually done by adding sometimes the 2% molasses to the maize stover. So these need to be chopped properly and can be put. Then sampling the silage is in the airtight polythene pack for fermentation and the chemical analysis. Maize stover from the BFC or the polythene bag like this thing, and so these are BFC silage from the polythene bag. And curing step one, cutting. Step one, cutting the fodder, then tedding. It is the large scale production of the silage. It's called as the tedding. Then third one is the racking. So fourth one is hay baling. Then automatic bay, these accumulators are also like this in a huge space. Then bale wrapper is a very common machine which is used in many parts of India now also to make this. What are all the things not to do? Allow sides of the round bales to touch, not to touch. Then no bales in standing water. No storage under trees because this shade will spoil, and this is the spoiled part of the silage. And sometimes the bags will be torn out and the silage will be lost, and this is a spoiled silage. And here also you can see that color of the silage as black and the fungal infection has occurred already. So this is not a good quality silage. So there are another things are there. Two type of the things are there: silage and haylage. What's a silage? It is the traditional method, old method. So through the disintegration of the feed through the anaerobic digestion and 25 to 30% dry matter. Whereas the haylage is the one produced with feed having low moisture when compared with the traditional rice. Only these two are the major difference. Hay is the one which contains less moisture. The another thing is also there. Then high moisture silage is more prone to potential seepage losses, that is effluent or leachate from the silage, and undesirable secondary fermentation can also happen. And high dry matter losses also there. Whereas the haylage, the density is critical, and to maintain anaerobic condition because of the microbes are less active in haylage. Then the types of the haylage, early cut haylage is there, where the dry matter content is 45 to 55% moisture. Then once wrapped in the plastic, so 6 to 8 layers is there. Methods of haylage making is like this. So the haylage is the only difference between the silage and other thing. The fodder used here is having less moisture when compared to the silage. So steps in detail, then the important to know when right time to start. Then haylage is best method when plants do have early blooming, then legumes especially are 10% bloom. Grasses should start heading out. Any hay mower will work as long as they will cut. So these are all the different steps of the haylage. Then plan one, then to assess the forage crops, then cut it and make the haylage. So these are all the swathed or mowed forage wilt for a time before harvesting. Then the harvest the crop like this, then drop the loads to the haylage site, then pack the pile, cover the pile immediately, then prepare the silage within 28. So pH value is 3.9 or lower, then the pH may also vary between 4.3 to 6.5. So use of additive in the haylage. So as usual, in case of silage also we are going to add different type of the feed additives. Then also here also it can be made. So the difference between the silage and haylage is only the moisture percent. Good quality haylage contain about 10 to 13% protein, very similar to that of the silage, 65 to 70% energy content or the digestibility. So haylage is more palatable than digestible than hay. So there is very little wastage of the food. Then less leaf loss occurs and there is less chance of the fungal nutrition. So the feeding the hay is as usual, very similar to that of the feeding of the silage. Then the use of elevated hay dragon to reduce the feeding losses to the extent of 10%, which is a hay wagon. Then advantage of the haylage is highly palatable compared to the silage, then produces less dust than that of the hay. Then entirely mechanized production, lower feed costs then uses existing hay making equipment. Lower harvest cost is also there, less weather dependent, and the dry hay systems. So such type of systems always need to be checked for the proper use. Whereas there are little disadvantages, you can see it. Then especially the limited intake of the potentials, very weather dependent, especially the field losses can be very high, can be dusty sometimes, no need storage, dry condition, heavier bales may require larger handling equipment, increase in the annual cost, then potentially higher storage loss may be there. Haylage equipments are these things. Haylage blades are the totally different and can be tailor made. So it is also mounted on the tractor's front lifting attachment or wheeled loader. So they are all made to attach to the tractor. Then agri harvage B gauge especially. So then spin model S wrapper is this thing. Then haylage balers, challengers, haylage balers. Then these are all the different processes. How the silage is made, what are all the fodder to be used, what are all the feed additives or the silage additives to be done, and also sometimes how the mechanism of the silage making works, etc. are done. So please read it, please go through this once again and have a nice day. Then bye.